sponsored one and painted it. And what's interesting is on the back, I've got these little hearts that I'm putting in that are all being painted by famous celebrities and signed. So I'm gonna fill it up and then one of these days auction it off as for a fundraiser. It's big. It's bigger than me. It's like 7 feet tall. You see?
Wow.
It's over my head.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yep. Yeah, it's a pretty cool thing. I love that thing. It fills up my living room.
Hey, I might have to go in on that auction. Hey, so we know the same guy. You and I both know Ken Rakowski from Metal.
Yep, Ken Rakowski is an old friend for a long time. I was actually one of the original Metal members. I was there the day there was only 4 of us.
Wow.
When he started it.
It's grown a great deal now.
Oh yeah, it's great. I've been going. Have you been going to any of the ones he's doing on Saturdays now, the Zoom ones?
No, I haven't because I've been doing so many shows and stuff, but I want to. Last time I saw Ken was when he moved it over to the music hall in Beverly Hills. Right.
Yeah. Now it's all virtual. So It's great. I mean, I like it personally because Saturday I can get up, I can do stuff, and I can listen, and I don't have to drive for an hour, another hour back. So it works out pretty well.
Sherry, you okay?
Yep, I just hope I'm not getting dark. It's getting dark. Hi, Scott.
Oh, there. We're all ready to rock. She's got her snowshoes. I've got my angel. Dude, we're like looking really good.
That's funny.
I like what's behind you, Scott. I like your purple angel.
It's my purple angel. It's called the Angel of Now, and it represents presence. Consciousness and kind of the whole spiritual thing is my favorite subject. So it's like, that's the Angel of Now. It's all about presence, about the moment. The only thing that's real is us talking, right? That's it. Everything else is illusion.
Hey, I'm going to start this off, and then Linda Steele is going to jump on.
Okay.
Hey, this is Brian Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More, the Women's Broadcast TV Network, iTube 247 out of Franklin, Tennessee. And we have none other, we have to start with women first, obviously, Scott. Sherry Nelson from British Columbia, and then
absolutely
the one and only Scott Page. So Sherry, I know you want to say something. Yeah.
Who, me? You, Sherry.
No, we have a real treat for our audience today. The incomparable Scott Page from Pink Floyd. He's a musician, entrepreneur, technologist. He's everything. If there's anyone in the audience right now that's making a Trivial Pursuit board game, you have to do your research on Scott Page. He's the one musician that can say he's performed with Lawrence Welk and Pink Floyd, and he's been an actor on Young and the Restless. So everybody, I'm very honored and pleased to introduce to you Scott Page.
Wow, you really did do your homework. I've never had anybody come up and say, "Oh, the Young and the Restless." You remember that one, right? Oh my God, that was funny. Crazy. Yep. Well, thank you. Very happy to be on your show. It's great.
Hey, Scott, I got to ask you, did you know you were going to be a technology guy? Have you always been a tech nerd? Because I've developed into that. Maybe I always was one. I don't know. When did you know?
Well, you know, I've always, my father was on top of being an incredible musician, you know, he was a studio musician. We did the Lawrence Welk show when I was growing up for like 14, 15 years. But he'd always been an entrepreneur. So when I was growing up, we had boat businesses, lighting businesses, candy businesses, reed businesses. He was one of the inventors of the wah-wah pedal, you know, the famous wah-wah pedal. And then he had a studio that became Sound City, which was the big movie was about, you know, Dave Grohl did that whole documentary about that. So I've been around sort of entertainment, and I got involved in the tech space back, I guess it was about 1989-90, where I did my first CD-ROM. It was called Music Bytes, and it was basically music for computers. And that was my first sort of getting into the tech space. And then I basically saw my future in the CD-ROM world, and I just dove in heavily and hung out big time in the cyberpunk scene. And I was hanging out with Timothy Leary back there because he was all part of that scene too. And So we did, you know, it was very early in the tech space, and I just saw that coming and saw my future. And, you know, as far as tech, you know, I've been sort of tried to combine technology and entertainment because that's where I've come out of. So my biggest claim to fame that I'm really most proud of is I directed and co-produced the world's first interactive cartoon, which was called Toonland, that starred Howie Mandel. We sold 11 million units of that CD-ROM, believe it or not, and we were able to take our company public on that and everything. Yeah, so that's one of my favorite things, and I love technology. So I've been sort of, you know, focusing on both sides of the fence. I teach startup to artists, and I try to explain to them that, you know, you've got to look at your art, look at business the same way, because there's a business to art too, right? So it's a big part of my, everything that I do is really trying to figure out a business model with what I'm doing from an entertainment point of business. Otherwise, it's a hobby, right? You got to make money. You got to turn it into a business.
No, Scott, you're one of these unique visionaries, and especially living in our COVID environment. I know that in the past you've said that, you know, the music industry has changed, that you're not really making money off the music that you make and you perform, but rather you make money off of the experience. So with your company Think, you did create that, and I'm wondering if you could teach us or tell us more about your Think experience that you're able to provide for your audience and audiences of the future.
Oh yeah, sure. Another one of my favorite subjects. This one I could go in, and if I talk too much, just let me know. I'll stop. Yeah, I've been as an entrepreneur. All my companies have been tech-related companies. Even though they have a certain amount, like one was a game company, another was a media entertainment company. But I really realized that in the music business, you can't sell music anymore, right? There's no place to sell it. You can stream it, but it's very difficult to make any money in streaming because, you know, the average dollar figure roughly for 1 million streams, you'll get roughly around $4,000 to $5,000. And the problem is only 2 to 3% of the entire Spotify catalog even gets 1 million streams. So yeah, there's those few that are making some money, but it's really not there. So the two things that you can really sell is the experience and sort of the lifestyle and the relationship. Those are the two areas that you can basically build products around and sell. So, you know, for us, I realized that you can do that. So tying together the whole idea of what is the next technology advances that are going to make the experience great. So at Think, our whole thing is kind of bringing in all the different types of, you know, different types of technologies. Like we just finished, up until this COVID thing hit, we had done 40 sold out shows in a 360-degree immersive dome. So you're actually watching what we did was a Think Floyd show. So we did a Pink Floyd show with an all-star band in this 360 thing where some people are laying on these couches that are plugged into the beds, and the whole experience. So it's like very immersive thing where it's almost like it's a shared VR experience. And then we were about to start experimenting with a company that makes these shoes that turn you into a speaker, and, you know, building AR apps and VR into all of this. So Think is really about the next level of experience. And what was interesting is this was going to be our biggest year. We were getting ready to launch a 1,600 seat immersive dome theater in Los Angeles. We were working on, which was an incredible $15 million structure. I was doing it with some partners of mine that were out of Montreal, which is Canadian, like Canadian friends there. There were a lot of Cirque du Soleil. So it was a new form of Cirque du Soleil. But this all hit and everything got cut off. We lost all of our business, our jazz fest we were supposed to be this year at Europe and stuff. But, you know, what was funny was I woke up and I just said, well, those were illusions. They hadn't happened yet. So I don't know what would have happened if they would have even happened. So I just kept moving and said, it's time to rethink the business. And right now, I believe this is the greatest time I've ever seen in my lifetime for an entrepreneur, because there are just so many problems now that need to be solved and new way of thinking. And so our company is really focused on what is the next live experience, or what is the next experience. And so we're focused on marrying a live COVID-friendly experience to a two-way streaming, because that's really different than a lot of the streaming is more of a YouTube where you watch the stream. Well, now we can bring people in just like us. We're all over the place, all over the world, and we can now communicate. So Sherry was actually saw our show. I saw her sitting in our audience. We had set up the band and had 12 80-inch monitors, and we brought everybody up all on the screens. And we played live to everybody there, and it was fantastic. I mean, it was such a cool thing. We actually felt like people were there, and we talked to people on the screen, and it was very interesting. And then we're actually working on how do we take that and deliver that also to a new experience in the home. So we're working on a variety of new ways to create that experience, lifestyle type shows that can be delivered in varieties of different ways. But I'm very excited about the future right now for entertainment. I think there's incredible opportunities, but you got to move quickly because this thing is moving fast now.
So Sherry, I got to ask you, so what was that like for that experience? Because not everybody got a chance to see that.
You know, it was.
Oh, it was.
Go ahead, Sherry. You saw it.
I'm sorry. No, it was like being at a rock concert. The sound was amazing. You could see everybody performing, and the members that you had, like Scott, everyone knows is just an amazing saxophonist, and the other members of the band were really fantastic.
Yeah.
Kenny Olson did a really great guitar solo of I think it was Hey Joe. And,
oh yeah, we did Hey Joe.
But no, it was like you were right. It was
Yeah,
wonderful, Scott. I hope we can do it again and more people know about it.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, it was an experiment for us. I kind of like to test and validate things as often as I can before we kind of move forward. So it was a great test, but really more importantly, it was good for the band, you know, because the whole part of the band playing in a live environment is getting that feedback. And so it was really nice to just look up and see people from all over the world looking at us and being able to communicate. And actually we learned a ton, which was really what that was for, was to learn how we can do it. Yeah, it is the future, I think. And this isn't going to go away for a while. We're going to be in this sort of uncertainty about things for a while. So I think this was, you know, the new behavior of us, like we're doing right now, these Zoom calls and communications. I mean, I've been actually, you know, pretty surprised on how wonderful the experience is. Just having my phone on FaceTime, and I got like 3 or 4 of my friends, and I'm out watering the yard, and somebody's cooking, and you know, somebody's doing something else, and you're like sort of hanging out, and it actually is a pretty good experience. I mean, you feel like you're there with your friends, and in some sense, now it's obviously not the same as being there and being able to hug people and all of that, but you know, I think it's part of what where we're going. And I think what we did is we basically accelerated 5 years in like 3 months, because we've known that this, you know, new work from home, this technology, it's been in place, but we're now using it at a totally different level. It's completely changing user behavior, opening up new business opportunities, and, you know, all kinds of things. So it's definitely very interesting times.
Well, I was going to ask you, how do you become one of the, you know, coolest people in LA? But just listening to you, I already see that. But I want to hear it from you, because that's if I were to get any award, I would want to have that. But so what did you think when you came out with that?
Oh, you know, that it was really funny, because funny story. I'll never forget. So I get this call that, okay, I was selected as one of the coolest people in 50 coolest people in Los Angeles for Buzz Magazine back in the day. And so somebody just told me that day, and I jumped in my car and I flipped on the radio, and I'm listening to the radio. The guy's talking on the radio, and he says, oh, it's crazy. They just put out the 50 coolest people in Los Angeles, blah, blah, blah. And I said, wow, I was picking one of those guys. And the guy goes, yeah, there was this guy. And then there was this old has-been rock and roll guy, Scott Page, and I'll never forget.
He actually said that?
I guess I was cool because I was a tech guy. It's funny.
You're definitely not old. I met this man face to face in reality, and he's not old, man.
I'm not an old man, but getting there. But that's okay. I'm totally fine.
You were talking about earlier, what was it like to form Metal? Because that's an honor to be in. All these, you know, Sherry, in case you don't know, it's called, you know, Media, Entertainment, Technology.
Media.
And it's just really, It's great. It's an honor to be part of that because they came through and helped us with the Hollywood Film Festival back in 2015 for all the stuff. And I never forgot that. But I met some great people in there. I can't Bebop, who's developing Hyperlink. All of that stuff. And then I had
the Hyperloop,
traveling, But talk about what that's like to be one of those founders for that.
Well, Metal was started by a guy named Ken Rakowski, and Ken, which is interesting, he's like the father of podcasting. He started this back early in the days. And
in Chicago.
He was one of the, back in Chicago. He was like very early. I met Ken. We became friends, and he was also the drive home, not DJ, but radio personality for CNET Radio up in San Francisco. So he's very well in the tech space. And he used to come, and I met him when we were doing like Comdex back in the day when I had Seventh Level, which was one of my tech companies. And he would come to all of those, interview everybody, talk about this podcasting, all that kind of stuff. So I became friends with Ken. And then he started this thing called Metal, which is Media, Entertainment, Technology, Alpha Leaders. And it's really kind of the who's who of media, entertainment, and technology. Like you said, Bebop, who started the Hyperloop, which is, changing transportation on the planet right now. William Quigg, currency big catalyst. I got Nolan Bushnell, who started Chuck E. Cheese, and he's the father of the video game. He did Pong, was his first. He did the guy who created
Asteroid, and the guy from Mr. Pink's Hot Dogs. Sherry, when we would get
everybody,
because it's that will be every Saturday. He's like, you walk into the room, you would never know these guys are creators, inventors, and just brilliant. You would never know. And then I'd love this have when he would have co-eds too, because that was fascinating to see also.
Yeah. I mean, it's an amazing organization. I got to tell you, it's like a big camaraderie amongst the people. It's like everybody's so helpful, and it's a great group. And now they do it every Saturday online. So it's an invite group. You come and hang out with the speakers. So for those out there, it's like a TED Talk. So you get the talking, and then, we have different guests on, they speak. And what's great about it now, they break off into rooms and you can hang out with these people. And I mean, there's been some great ones. There was one, Sasha Cohen, a couple weeks ago, was just extraordinary. So it's a wonderful group. So if anybody gets a shot and can join Metal, it's way worth it. It's a great organization. Whoops. You there? Oh, am I still there? Okay, good. Yeah, what happened here? I went to, this should be, I'm good, I think. I hope.
Hey, Scott, talk about this. How did you become a flute? How did you play flute? That's interesting. And I want to know these things because I marched in a drum and bugle corps, so I played everything percussion, but a drum set. And then I never forgot when I met Buddy Rich and a couple other people. I didn't know what I was doing on a set, but I could play everything else because no one ever taught me how to play set. But when it came to marching band or drum and bugle corps, I was one of the best of that. So I still do that to this day. So I'm always fascinated by things like that.
Well, I started out actually as a trumpet player. I wasn't a saxophone player. My dad, being a woodwind player, he played 14 instruments. He played all the oboe, English horn, flute, clarinet, saxophone, bassoon, piccolo, flute, all of that. And I started out as a trumpet player. I didn't think I was going to be a musician. I really studied to be an architect. So I was into design and stuff, and I was working in a company called Audiodyne back in end of high school. Got into a band with these guys, Jeff Beccaro and David Page, who became Toto later on in life. And so those guys really got me into the music business. When I was a draftsman, I'd be sitting in my office all day drawing, and doing stuff, drinking 10 cups of coffee. And then at night I'd go play gigs with these guys, but there was a difference. There was a lot of girls in the front row. So I decided, I think I like this music business much better than sitting in this room. So I decided to become a musician. It's amazing what girls can do. They can change your complete thinking. So I decided that. So I took my drafting skills, my drawing skills, and I became a music copyist, so that I could stay in the business. So I made a living copying music for, composers and arrangers. And what that meant is back in the day, they used to, write a full score out with all the parts, and then he would hand it to me. And then I'd have to write out the first trumpet part, then write out the second trumpet, and hand those back and put it in. Now everything's done in the computer, but in those days, that's what I did. So I did that to keep myself going while I kept studying and just kept moving myself up the food chain, and became a musician and sort of an entrepreneur, I guess.
Oh, sure. I was waiting for you to ask a question.
So you played. So I took flute up. Oh, that's it. You were asking about the flute. So I took flute when I started that. Actually, I was playing trumpet and flute, which is a kind of a weird combination. And I did my stints in the marching band too. Actually, the marching band we had in college at Valley Junior College was one of the great marching bands. We actually had a cart that we carried around with a drummer, a full-blown bass player, and a lead guitar player and stuff. And these were all monster musicians at this place. And so we had an electronic marching band back in those days.
Wow, before the day. That's really interesting. Wow.
Before the day. Oh yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, my dad actually, which is interesting, started amplified instruments, right? So he took a hearing aid and flipped it around and put it on his clarinet, and he could use it like a microphone, started the whole amplified music thing. That's how we became, part doing the wah-wah pedal and all that stuff with the Vox company. So I've been around that. He actually built a marching band hat, which they manufactured, that has a speaker and stuff in it that the band plugged into, so that it was an amplified orchestra. And they used to do shows like that. So it was interesting, a full marching band that was fully amplified with the amplifier in their hat.
What's unfortunate now, Scott, is this is the first season ever that Drum and Bugle Corps is not performing during the summer. So all these kids from ages 9 Junior Corps is 86, they would normally be on tour right now, getting ready to go cross country. And they don't know what to do because, one, there's no jobs. Some of them are performing virtually, but it's not the same when you're out there traveling from city to city, state to state, and performing in front of an audience. And you know what that's like. So they know what to do. And so some of these corps are going to fold. It's not like a regular marching band where you can come back because it's part of the curriculum. But the Drum and Bugle Corps, it's all nonprofit, so it's not easy. So my heart goes out to a lot of them, and we're trying to figure out
Big time.
Also, you understand what it's like to not be able to tour right now. Talk about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, this was going to be a big year for us. This was our second year. Company was really starting to grow. We were proving our business model. Things were coming together, and just everything stopped. It was just like, and so all of us, it's like we were playing. I was playing roughly 3 nights a week, and doing sessions and everything just stopped. And it's really strange to not be playing with your buddies and stuff. I mean, it's amazing how important it is to kind of feed off of the other guys playing and stuff. And so, yeah, there's no question we missed that. Now, myself, I toured for years, like from 77, 78 to 90 something. I toured every year. I was out for years. So I don't really like to tour that much anymore. I'm more like, I like going to certain places, staying for a little bit. Like, we're going to be going up to Canada. We just did a contract. We're going to be up there doing 9 shows up in Quebec City, which is going to be cool, in this new immersive theater that's coming up in December. But, right now,
I'm sorry, Scott, I missed that.
Obviously, I love to play.
Did you say you were going to go to Sherry's house and play for her? I missed that part.
That's right. Anytime I will go there and play for her.
After Quebec, you come to BC.
Okay, great.
Casa.
All right, good. And so, Sherry, are you a musician? I never knew. Do you play anything?
Funny you had. Actually, I played trumpet in high school, just
you. Oh wow.
Yeah. So we'll jam in BC. No.
Okay, that's it. We can both double tongue. Never mind.
So Scott, you're a numbers guy. You're always thinking. Is music a therapy or a release for you, or are they both a challenge for you? Like, where do you get your solace?
Well, it's interesting. I have to say, it's been years since I've listened to music. I don't really listen to music anymore, which is my whole life. I listened to music like crazy. And I have a handful of records 5 records that I've been listening to for 25 years, and they're still the best records. I don't need any more records. There's so much music on those 5 records that I get plenty. But you know, for me, it's the playing part, and it really goes back to the you know, when I used to play gigs, I'd play every night. I'd have like 6 nights a week, 7 nights. We'd play clubs, you know, and that's where learning to play, right? So I would take myself every night and then put it in the car as I drive home, just to critique myself, to see if I was flat, sharp, if I rushing, dragging, what kind of lines I played. And I would do that over and over. And then I remembered about 5 times over a 10-year period of time, I listened back and I could not believe it was me. I said, where did that even come from? I played stuff that I'd never played before. I had no idea why, or it just happened. And it always kind of intrigued me. I was always trying to figure out what happened. Well, then I started taking a pretty heavy spiritual path and got into meditating a lot. And then I started learning more and more about, you know, that inward journey and the whole concept of the, you know, the thinker, the watcher, and, you know, who are you, and all this stuff, and really got into it. And I realized what had happened at those times is I actually stopped thinking. Thought dropped and I became fully present, right? It was just another source. The source was driving. I don't know how else to say that. So when you say, what do I get solace? It's like when I go to play, my whole thing is really, I try to go to no mind as much as I can, and I get in there and I just try to basically stop thought and just kind of play. So I view music for me as like getting closer to God or the source or consciousness or whatever you want to call the force, right? So that's why music for me, that's really what it's all about. That's what I care about, is when I play, I can go into the zone and just connect, and there's no sense of time. There's no anything. It's just beautiful because there's no suffering in that space. Let's put it that way.
Well, Scott, you're just so intellectual. I need to know, what are you reading right now? And as you say, if you were to seek therapy, can you recommend a good a book or a type of reading to help people? You know, because so many people are ill, stressed out, things like that. Can you recommend something that may help them to read at night?
Absolutely. So here's the main thing is once you get to the point, suffering is a very valuable thing, right? So because suffering can bring you to a place where you say, no more suffering, stop, right? I don't want to suffer anymore. And so those are usually the times that it brings people to start reaching out, looking for something, right? That's the beauty of going through some horrible thing. So I always say there's always a seed of grace in everything. There's also always the upside of down. It just depends on how you want to look at it, view it. Because in reality, there's no right or wrong. There just is. We create right or wrong in our mind. And I'll get to the book in a second. But the whole idea is it's like really discovering that you are not the thinker. You're actually the watcher. And people that are completely connected to thought all the time think that movie's real. And I go back to this. The only thing that's real is the 3 of us talking right now. That's it. There's nothing else real. 2 minutes ago is a complete illusion. It's a memory. It's a thought. 2 minutes from now is an illusion, is a thought. So once you grasp that concept at the deepest level and go, holy cow, the only thing that's real is what I'm looking at right at this second. And the past just keeps falling off. It drops, it drops, it drops. So once you start to grasp that more, you start to realize that the only step that matters is the one you're taking right now. Right? There's no other step. It's the only one that's real. It's the only one I can change. So one of the things I tell everybody that really helped me was, I'd read someplace one time about this exercise, the idea of asking yourself as many times through the day, ask this one question: where am I? And what am I feeling right now? So ask that question. So you stop yourself and you say, where am I? Okay. I'm sitting in my living room. No lions or tigers are chasing me. Everything is actually okay in reality. But if I'm feeling any anxiety, tension, or fear, that tells me I'm identified with a thought. I'm believing the thought in my head, the movie in my brain, right? And what you need to do is start to learn to flip that switch, where every time you ask yourself, where am I? And you put all your attention where you are, slow your mind down. You go, I'm okay, right? What am I feeling? If you're feeling that, then you know that you're identifying with thoughts. So the goal is to get to the point to where you become the watcher, because you're thinking, and every time you ask that question, you're actually, what am I feeling right? You're asking that question to see where you are at. You're waking up a little bit. So now to the book. So the thing that happened for me was I went through a period where I was pretty down. And it wasn't that things weren't okay. I mean, it wasn't like I was complete, but just mentally, I was just couldn't study anymore. I couldn't practice, couldn't remember. Things weren't the way, because I had different kinds of dreams and I thought things were going to happen and they didn't happen the way I wanted them. And so I'm getting all caught up in this future thing it was. And I went down and I finally got to the point where I said, enough. And then I started, a friend of mine told me about it, an organization, a thing called Insight, which was, there's a variety of these types of events where people go into a room and there's all these techniques where you kind of tear yourself down and then build yourself back up. You've heard them. There were ones back in the day. One was S, and there's just all these different things, but it's really like a big therapy sessions you go with the people. Well, I went through that and it completely made me realize there was something more. And then I fell into a book, which is very popular. Everybody knows. It's called The Power of Now, which is Eckhart Tolle. And he's really, truly one of the great, real spiritual teachers. There's a lot of spiritual teachers out there that are teaching good things, but he's the real deal. There's a different thing. So I ended up reading that book like 50 times, 60 times in a row. I just read it. I put it in my car and I listened to it for 2 years in my car. And every time I get in my car, it was my shrine, with the goal of just trying to take that inward journey and really figure out what it is. And what's interesting is just reading the books, it's really more the repetition, because the problem with reading and words and this stuff, words are just pointers, because the minute you tell yourself, oh, I understand it, you missed it. That's like the puzzle, right? It's a crazy puzzle. It's all about awareness and presence, right? But the question is how do I know I'm aware that I'm aware? And that's where the puzzle starts to happen. So I can just say, after reading that book, doing that for so long, a couple of years, I was feeling pretty good. I'm meditating every day. I'm feeling pretty wide awake. I think I'm really on the path. I wake up one morning, April 9th, 10/12. I blinked. I washed my eyes. I rubbed my eyes. I went, holy cow! 50 some years went by. I blinked and it went by. Time is an illusion, because time is an illusion, right? It's only something we make up in our head. There's no time. Time is only what the clock, it's always now, right? It's always now. Time is something we create in our head. So I never really grasped the concept of why time was an illusion and what they meant by that. And at that moment, I realized, I went, oh, I blinked, all that went by. And it was like no time went by at all. It was just, huh? How did that happen? But then here's where the real profound statement came to me, is all of a sudden I realized at that moment, the voice that's in the back of my head, not my thinking, but that voice that's kind of understands right or wrong, whatever it was, hadn't changed a bit. I remember it's the same voice in my head when I was 5. It's the same voice I am now, right? It was that same thing. And that's when I went, you don't die. It's a fake. You're faked. It's a fake. You think you die, but you can't die, right? I just realized that that's who you really are. And what was funny was I went and read the book again, and it was 180 degrees from where I thought it was. I missed it the entire time. Two years of travel, 50 reads. I missed the whole thing. I missed it. And it was at that point, everything shifted for me. And I just went, oh, okay. So, it's about no more suffering. The goal of life is to resist nothing. You just have to, like, what is, you have to accept what is, right? Because as soon as it happens, it's over. It was supposed to happen. And any kind of suffering that you put onto it is just your mental noise that you're creating, because it's done, right? It's over. So that's the real key, is, it starts out, you're up, and then something horrible happens, and then you're down, and then you might stay down for a long time, and then finally something will happen. You're up, and you go through this giant up and down thing, right? Well, the goal is as you become more what I'll call aware, or waking up period, it goes like this, you go down, but then it starts going like this, and then it gets like this, and then it goes like this. You go down for a second, you're up, back, oh, I can't take it, and then all of a sudden, your goal is you want it to flatline, so that you resist nothing, right? You've got to accept what is, because anything else is futile. And that comes to anything. So people looking, I'm telling you, the most important journey is the inward journey. There's nothing more important, because your job on this planet is one thing, and that's it. It's not becoming a podcaster, an actress, or a model, or a saxophone player. It's to help consciousness unfold. That's what we're here for. That's our deal. And you know, the beautiful part that kills me is everybody says, "Oh, we got to save the planet." The planet's fine. It's been rolling for 4 or 5 billion, 6 billion years. Who knows how long? This sucker's going to keep rolling with us or without us. Now, humans, do we need them? I don't know if the planet needs humans, you know. It was interesting, a story yesterday. You know, I think it was Japan. I believe it was Japan. It was an Asian country. What's happened is they're not having any birth rate. Kids are not having children anymore. And they're like 35 years old. They're not even having sex and stuff. And so what's happened is that society, they say in 7 or 8 years, 60% of the entire population is going to be over 60 years old.
Yeah.
So they can't have kids. So they're losing. So what they're doing is they're now building robots to take the place of the humans, because they're not going to have the humans to be able to do that. So we're at a point, what's happening is we're actually merging with machine, right? Because if you think about it, even you carry that cell phone around with you, it may not be embedded into your body, but that sucker goes everywhere with you, right? You're constantly checking, looking, it controls everything about you. So we're really actually going into what they call singularity, where man and machine is starting to merge. And this, what just happened with this, all this COVID stuff and everything that's going down right now, it was instant Jetsons. We're moving into a whole nother ball game, because everything is shifting now at this moment. This is like one of the most craziest historic shifts in everything. And our country is going to determine what it's going to be now, right? Are we globalist run? Or are we going to be sovereign country? You know, what's going to happen? And, you know, all I can say is you just got to go with the flow, because trying to stop it is, you can't do that. You just got to go with it. Right?
Can you give, we got about 60 seconds. Can you give your social media links for your fans?
You know, the best thing for, I guess, for me, if you want to look me up, it's I am Scott Page, or you can put Scott Page, Pink Floyd, that'll always show up. And for Think, just Think EXP. If you type into Google Think EXP, you'll see a ton of videos, a ton of stuff, and there are all the links to everything else out there. So that's the easiest way, just Google it.
And for Sherry, your social media links, please.
Facebook, Sherry Nelson, Twitter, Instagram, XOXO, Sherry XO.
All right. I want to thank Sherry Nelson. I want to thank Scott Page. So informed.
Yay!
Who, you know, I wonder if I ran into you at the metal meetings or not. I'm thinking about this the whole time. Who knows? But anyhow, we will see you virtually pretty soon. Honor and pleasure to.
I hope so.
And hey,
thank you guys very much for having me. I'm very thankful
Scott,
to be here.
thank you.
I really appreciate it.
So with
let's
that,
do it again.
We
Yes.
can do it again.
Let's do it again. It's fun. Let's
All
do
right.
it anytime.
So with Brian Sebastian, movie reviews and more, women on TV.tv, the Women's Broadcast TV Network, and iTube 247 out of Tennessee. We will see you, and think of what Scott said, because it's very interesting and very powerful. If you see someone out of smile, please give them one of yours, because the planet needs it. And yes, the planet will be okay. It's us humans that need to work on ourselves. We'll see you next week.